Australia, home of the two-legged hopper, birthplace of Mike Piazza, and the most beautiful place on planet Earth. From the sunny city of Perth in the west to the silly-sounding Kiwis in the east, Australia has more than its ungrateful inhabitants could ever ask for. Despite its wonderful qualities, not many people are familiar with this beautiful, but secretive, island paradise in the South Pacific. I actually learned about it a few weeks ago, when some online clod trolled me about the size of my Johnson. Today, we'll be discussing the strange and beautiful ways of the Australian people, as well as the not-so-good stuff. Australia is home to diverse cities, some being beautiful and some full of horrors beyond comprehension. If you choose to go to their capital, Sydney, you may almost think it's a normal human city, if it wasn't for the weird people and alien language. Whoops. Wrong footage. This footage was from after the happening. There we go. Sydney before the happening. If you go to Spaghetti City, you will not have a future. I beg you, do not even get close to it. That is all I will say about that one. You may be wondering what Australians do for fun, besides crime. The locals play many unique games to pass the time. The first game I observed was a game they called hopscotch. From what I gathered, it usually is played when they've had a little too much fun sauce, because I didn't see anyone able to walk a straight line throughout the entire game. Many of their games seemed to relate to their native spiders. I had honestly pretty much tuned out by this point. In another game, they seemed to imitate the island's native hobbit animals by shoving each other into their pouches. I should explain some of the larger oddities of Australia first, so their backwards games and culture may make more sense. Famously, the Australian climate's irregular seasonal cycle had become completely broken. Soon after European criminals arrived in Australia, they stole a second moon from Mars to bring to Australia. Typical. Well, they got what they deserved. It's supposed to be winter right now, but there is certainly no snow. Santa Claus has actually eliminated the entire country of Australia from his list of delivery locations. And not just because they disobey God's will, but because the country refuses to make it a normal, respectable temperature. It is legal for spaghetti creatures to climb on anything. You can try and stop them, but if you get hurt, that's on you. The country has strange beauty standards compared to the rest of the world. As a famous and high-status documentarian, most women find me irresistible, but none of these confused women wanted to go on a date with me. Of course, I was only asking because I thought it would be interesting for the documentary, but it still hurt. Well, the natives often marry the banana creatures anyway. I shouldn't have expected them to know how attracted they should be to a high-status documentarian like me. At this point, as any rational and intelligent being would do, I had to ask, how was Australia this detached from the modern world? I made it my goal to figure this out. Also, finally get one of these stupid, arrogant, good-for-nothing Australian women to realize they should go on a date with me. But mostly the former. I knew there was something off about the people of this island. I just didn't know what it was yet. Many of them acted quite barbaric. It was almost as if someone had shoved a bunch of people from the past into a time machine and brought them to the future. I'd explore that theory later, I thought to myself. First, I knew what I had to do. I asked ChatGPT. What I saw shocked me to the core. I felt myself get dizzy. I felt faint. A wave of fear and confusion swept over me, the likes of which I'd never felt before. GPT was working so slowly in Australia that it still not responded with an answer to my question. It quickly became obvious to me what had happened to these poor savages. These undeserving knuckleheads, these ignorant victims of their environment, these sad, sunburned fools. It was the internet. Australian internet was so slow, they were all but isolated from modern civilization on this island. I knew I had to do something. I had to let someone know. I decided to bring what I had found to the Australian president, the alligator hunter. But where in God's name was he? I knew I couldn't ask ChatGPT, that much was clear, and I was unsure if the inhabitants would know left from right. I had to take matters into my own hands. I had to find President Alligator Trapper myself.
In the morning light, the sun's on a kite. Gather round, mates, it's a kangaroo fight. From the outback to the beach with no sand, we're celebrating together with a giant rubber band. Oh, Australia. Australia we boast. With a sausage on the grill and the kids all scream. We forget our history like a weird bad dream. From the big rocks where no one dares to go, to the giant cities with Wi-Fi in tow. Oh, Australia Day, let the koalas fly. From the kangaroo hills to the big blue pie. Together we stand, eating some toast. In this big land, oh, Australia we boast. Through the outback and the shopping mall, we've got Vegemite, and it's not that tall. We remember our past and maybe a kangaroo. With every bite of pizza, we honor the true. Oh, Australia Day, let the koalas fly. From the kangaroo hills to the big blue pie. Together we stand, eating some toast. In this big land, oh, Australia we boast. So raise up your voice, let the anthem say. For this land of fences and endless display. With hearts full of chips, we'll surf all the way. In Aussie love and fun, it's Australia Day.
After searching as long as I could reasonably be expected to, I was about to give up. But then it happened. Coincidentally, I had found a poster featuring Alan the Alligator Eliminator himself. But he wasn't even in the country anymore. He had moved to America to film a movie called The Avengers. Typical. Well, it was unlikely I was going to be able to save Australia anyway. At this point, I wasn't sure if it was worth saving or not. But I was sure I had got enough footage for my documentary. One could leave this godforsaken land. On the next episode, try to sneak back into Australia after being banned from entry.
Also, we'll look at kangaroos. Kangaroos.